Yo, 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 yo. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Uh my name is Chaz Neal, first of all, aka the Urban Conservative. I think Jontel, okay, he is. He is.
Yeah, I'm here, bro. I just gotta throw some laundry in the dryer.
No, you good,
You
man. You
know how
good.
it's real. We got things we gotta do.
Right,
As far as chores, we grown adults. But I'm here, brother.
right, right. We're coming here today to talk about what why most lies are protected speech and why they should stay that way. Um, we've seen a lot of things happening the last week with the Supreme Court, and actually, it's been honestly just not even the last week. It's been talked about for the last few years, and people never want to fully ever just have a conversation. So I want to get into that today and have a conversation, um, an honest conversation about our rights and fully understanding what is protected speech, what isn't protected speech, and why aren't lies. But see, there's certain types of lies like perjury or what is it? I think it's perjury. Anything to do with like a crime having to lying under oath, uh, those types of lies. But when it comes to like running during elections, because as we see with George Santos, can sit there and lie about his whole damn achievements and still be elected to be a state. And I don't think he's state. I think he's a U.S. legislator. So it's things like that. So there's a video that I wanted to play first and have a conversation about it. So let's get into that real quick. And this will give us really a starting point of to where the conversation is really going to head and what we're going to really be talking about. So listen to this.
We have a right to protest, and it's really in our DNA. We need to let people know that dissent is not disloyalty. Dissent is part of our governing process. It will lead to changing minds for votes. It may lead to changes in policy, and that is as protected as your right of freedom of religion or your right to speak. Very often, it's I have a right to free speech. I'm not so sure about you because you're saying things I don't like. That's not how it works. It's a natural part of the American experience. Unlike a lot of, go-to dictatorships, no dissent, no public demonstrations of protest. In America, we prize protest. And we are a nation of dissenters, if you will. They protected this right to get together as a group because that's really what they were doing when they started to object to the British rule of the United States. Because the revolution didn't start with separation from England. It began with assembling to say to Parliament, you're not recognizing the rights you have granted us as a colony. So they saw that ability to gather and protest or discuss political issues really as a core fundamental part of democracy. And again, that's a nonviolent protest. Now, that doesn't mean it's necessarily not going to break a law. You might say, as the civil rights workers did, we have a right to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Well, the police said, no, you don't. There was the historic collision there. The police may have had the law of the moment on their side in terms of how you assemble, but the protesters had the issues and touched the conscience of a nation, and everything changed. People will try to restrain protests, they try to restrain speech. Sometimes they'll try to do it on the basis of content. They just don't like what you're saying, not even how you're saying it. But we have those core freedoms, including assembly, to say, no, sorry, you can't do that. This is America. You have a right to be heard, even if it's in the manner of a street protest. People equate dissent with disloyalty. I see a protest march, and it's the old in my generation of America, love it or leave it. Why are you out here? And if you're, I think, an engaged citizen, you're drawn to join with others to make your voice heard.
Man, so that really broke it down into it was, and I hope that if you have questions, again, please ask. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. This is for all of us to sit here and learn, and to really do that. Each one teach one. And I felt like this was important to talk about, just because I don't feel a lot of people understand what freedom of speech is, and why certain people are able to get away with certain things and why others aren't. Um, and it's all because of people. We got to know our rights. So this is, we're at the Leon Block. We're about educating and liberating. So I definitely wanted to educate today. So when it comes to our First Amendment rights, what is honestly protected, because the First Amendment is a mere 45 words, but it's still giving lawmakers and judges fits 227 years after its adoption. Now, why do you feel that, as the First Amendment being 45 words and it's still giving, judges and lawmakers issues 227 years after its adoption? What does that tell you as a person?
I think there's a lot of reasons for that, though, because we're at a different place in our history, using essentially the same laws with a couple band-aids thrown on them.
Right.
We're in a completely different time frame in our country's history. It's like we're a big, ornery, old, privileged 16-year-old brat who's still wearing diapers because he can't find any clothes his size to wear.
Right.
Feel me?
Right. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand is, and I'm gonna switch the screen a little bit differently, because there's something on the back that I want people to read, and this is what we're literally gonna have to deal with. And so I'm just gonna show it right there. Now, there's no difference between what you're reading right there, and I'm going to leave this up for another minute.
I definitely understand what you're saying. I feel you.
No, because I'm about to go somewhere. I'm about to go to another direction with this shit too, and make motherfuckers rip. My bad. Make people realize that there's no difference, and we have to realize that is they're coming for one thing. What does it make you think that they're coming for other things? You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't just too long ago where we had signs like this.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And now we're going to start, because we've already started since the Supreme Court decision. You're starting to see signs like this. So why is this okay now when that's not okay now? What is the difference? We're still judging people. It's still discrimination. We're still, whatever people want to talk about affirmative action. I might not have believed in the way that it was being done, but it is something that we definitely need, because we are looked at because of are discriminated against, are judged by the way that we dress, by the way that we look, our skin color. So there's never going to be I don't ever feel a balanced, equitable merit system. I just don't ever see that.
Well, I feel like if we're going to live in a democracy, so-called, that's part of it.
Right.
Is that there's always going to be this tug of war, this give and take. Everything's not going to be completely equal in this kind of society. And I know that's people have their different opinions about that. Take it how they want.
Right.
But I think that's part of the reality of like this system that we're in. I don't know.
And as I was reading, about First Amendments and, our First Amendment rights, and just trying to compare it, people want to talk about government and religion, church. And here in the back I have the 10 Commandments. And I want to read a few of them, not all of them, just a few, because I think some of them, it's like these motherfuckers is hypocrites. Because let's go for this one. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. So how do you, when you read the ninth commandment, doesn't that to me, or at least doesn't to you, that kind of seems like the First Amendment, like protecting people for who they are, what they are, giving them the right to be what they want to be. Like, we're not the judge, we're not the jury. That's how I take the ninth commandment. Because if you're bearing, and people may not understand of what bearing means, of what they mean by this, of bearing, of like by looking at somebody. And false is, of course, everybody knows what false means, that it's not, it's not true. And witness, of people, it's something that you see. So against your neighbor, and everybody is our neighbor. So you see commandment number 8, you shall not steal. We see stealing all the time. That's how America got to be the country that it is. How you think we got here is by stolen labor, stolen land, stolen ideology. Shit, we could go on and on about things that have been stolen from people in America to get ahead. So as we learn more about this, and you can see that the state wants to separate from religion. And why though? Is it because it's easier to commit sins and easier to make people believe something if you're separating? Because then you're separating people from their values, their core beliefs, because if you're Christian, how can you stand by police murdering innocent people? Because the 6th commandment is you shall not murder. Or let's even go number 2, you shall not make idols. But yet, or you shall have no other gods before you. Yet we worship activists, we worship entertainers, celebrities, and think that these people and false prophets. And yet we act like we're not living in hell's times today, that we're not living where something that isn't a nightmare, isn't something that isn't reality. I mean, just think about it. When we go back to the First Amendment, the government can't establish religion, but federal, state, and municipal officials can open meetings with a prayer. The government can't block religious exercise, but it's trying to ban travelers from majority Muslim countries in the name of national security. It can't restrict free speech, not even hate speech or flag burning or protest of military funerals. But don't try shouting fire in a theater or threatening folks on Facebook. It can't muzzle the media unless it concerns outright lies made with malicious intent. And peaceful protests are protected, but that doesn't mean the Secret Service can't push you around in order to protect the president. Sound confusing? Here's your guide to the First Amendment, circa 2018. The First Amendment, noun, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government. So if white nationalists and neo-Nazis can march through the college town of Charlottesville, Virginia, and win backing from the American Civil Liberties Union, the right of demonstrators are in safe hands. What remains in doubt whether such protests can be accompanied by displays of weapons, even in states that permit firearms to be carried in public. That raises the potential for violence, which public officials have the authority to prevent. Oh, he's still there, still muted. So when I sit here and I think about that, and the same things that we, I remember just going back to 2020 and, counter protest of, people having Confederate flags, all the police flags, Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Pride flags. There's all different sorts and types that people had. And I've seen the hate over misunderstanding, misinformation, and lies that are perpetrated and narrated by people that we look up to, people that we go get our information to. And it's like, who do you really trust anymore? Because if people are, we literally see a lot of things that are lived on a lie. We've seen movements that are based on lies. We've seen history books written on lies. And we act and pretend like that is okay. We don't call it out. We see people stealing from the community, and yet we're silent about it. Or we see people murdering thy neighbor, and we're silent about it. When is that ever okay? We have to really sit there and think about it, and then what we want to really scream out about is what is our right and what isn't our right. Well, first of all, we have to learn our rights. In a series of cases dating back to the 1960s, the Supreme Court has struck down restrictions on so-called hate speech unless it specifically incites violence or is intended to do so. The First Amendment, the justices have said, protected neo-Nazis seeking to march through heavily Jewish Skokie, Illinois in 1977. It protected a U.S. flag burner from Texas in 1989, 3 cross burners from Virginia in 2003, and homophobic funeral protesters in 2011. So that right there, cross burners. So how is that something that is for us, but yet people can still do certain things that are hateful or that we see or we grow up to see as being hateful, and it's crazy. And Samantha, I totally get it, that trust in anyone anymore, because I don't either. I'll be 100%. I have a lot of trust issues when it comes to our community leaders, when it comes to our politicians, because they don't ever just tell us the truth. They just tell, especially when it comes to Democrats, they just tell us what we want to hear. They literally tell us what we want to hear, because what happened to the George Floyd Act? We still have police out here murdering people. What happened to prohibiting no-knock warrants? They said they did that, but with the exceptions. And that's what people aren't understanding, because how many more Breonna Taylors do we have to have? How many George Floyds? How many Amir Locks? How many Mohammeds? How many Jalen Walkers? How many? Because I can tell you right now, as many names as I can say, I can continue saying more names with the same story, because it doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the year and the names. The stories don't change, because literally they're all the same. Only thing that changes is the names. For me, I don't know how other people feel, but when it comes to me, there's certain aspects of a story or a situation that may be different, but at the end of the day, it's all same to me, because at the end of the day, the police took the life of somebody that should still be living today. Because if people like Dylan Roof, who can massacre a whole church and go to Burger King, but yet they can't go to a garage to check on a suspicious person call, and they kill the owner of the house, and he's got sandwiches in his hand, or he's got a cell phone. Like, can we really honestly have a candid conversation? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's really have this. Because if we're not trying to change policy, what are we doing? Because compensation is never going to get us anywhere. It's never going to get us anywhere, because the more that people keep on signing these non-disclosure agreements to be silent, that's all you are. It's a payment to be silent. And I don't understand how people don't understand that. Right. That's what I'm talking about, Kimberly. You know what I'm saying? Of like, we literally people aren't treated the same. And it's crazy that people can't understand. That's why amendments were written for Black people. That's why amendments were written for immigrants, because when the original U.S. Constitution was written, it wasn't written with everybody in mind, because everybody wasn't over here. The few blacks that were over here were majority slaves. So you think they gave two fucks about that? If we had rights? No, that shit was written for white men and white men only. It was written for the betterment, the empowerment of white men. And that's what the Republican Party, that's what they fight for. Only difference is the Democrats do it differently. They believe that, the poor should have a fighting chance. But the only difference is they lie about it the way that they do it. They don't ever just want to give it to you raw, because they always say, right now is not the right time, but we'll give you our thoughts and prayers. As while but they'll give their thought and prayers until the next name comes out. Why do we have to keep on saying names? Why do we have to wait until another body is snatched? Or why do we have to wait to another situation before we actually make change? Because if not now, then when? That's all I want to know. If not now, then when? And if not us, then who? Because I honestly believe that if we listened to the likes of a Marcus Garvey or a Frederick Douglass or a Fred Hampton, a Malcolm X, we wouldn't be in this situation, because we would damn be more free, for the simple fact that any other leader that they try to feed us has bent, has folded under that pressure, because they would rather have joined than to stand up and fight for all, because they were selfish. And I said what I said because it's the likes of Jeremiah Ellison or Keith Ellison or Cedric Frazier, Bobby Champion. It's leaders like that are selfish and forget about where they come from, because once they get into that seat, the money controls them. I don't understand why people can't see that. What politician do you know that lives in a bad area? What politician do you know that lives in a bad area? Please, explain that to me. Please. Right. That's why I know that I'm different. It's hard being lonely, but I'm okay being okay. I'm okay being alone. I hate being lonely, but I'm okay with being alone, because I would rather stand with the truth. I would rather stand with the truth. And I would rather stand with truth seekers, not people that want to sit here and perpetrate lies or keep a narrative running, not when we can sit here and just face the truth. Because I get tired of that shit. I get so tired of that shit. So it's really, for me, is really ridiculous because, and there's families that sit here and be telling the truth. And because we have people that are so-called, I'm going to go back to it right now, is this one right here. We shall not make idols. And because we have certain activists or certain people that people look up to, will sit there and be like, call families that ain't lying, call them liars. And instead of just facing the truth and being like, you know what, they're right, and we just really, they're a problem, and we don't want to do it the way that they want to do it because we're gonna fuck up our money. We're gonna fuck up our money. See, that's the problem. Most of these impacted families don't want money. They don't want money. They want change. They want reform so that there isn't any more mothers, there isn't any more wives, there isn't any more children that have to go through this shit. So that they don't have to sit here and years later be in history class and you're seeing your ancestors in a movie. You're sitting here in history class and you're watching a movie about your ancestors. I could only imagine how many of Emmett Till's family members, I'm going to say family members because it wasn't even that long ago, his extended family have now sat in school and are learning the history of their family, of how their family was murdered and nothing was done over years, and how literally people have been marching in these streets, people have been saying his name, people have profited. But has there ever been any justice? Has there ever been any accountability? There hasn't even been acknowledgement because they always lie about it. They always lie about it. Same thing with George Floyd. You think Minneapolis wanted to do that? You think Minneapolis wanted to come out and say that Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd? You think they wanted to do that? No, we the people made them do that. And I'm going to say we the people because when they first came out with George Floyd saying anything happened, they said it was a medical emergency. Nothing about that Derek Chauvin and three other officers held him down, or that Chauvin had a knee to his neck. None of that shit. They didn't say none of that. They just said that it was a medical emergency. Or they'll tell us that they had a gun, Jalen Walker. Or they'll tell us that they were a threat, Muhammad, for when they're just because they might be bigger. But go in the gym and get bigger, nigga. Go in there and lift some weights. If you're so scary, or because these motherfuckers are definitely in the wrong profession. I sit there and I think about, I've heard a lot of different podcasts over the last couple of days of, Tamir Rice story. How is a cop scared of a 12-year-old with a water gun? Make that make sense. Please make it make sense. I will never understand that, because how is it okay? Because when I don't see an officer charged and I see them going on and working at other law enforcement agencies, and we know damn well it's wrong. It's wrong. But yet we sit here and we're told that it's okay, and people stand behind that it's okay. So that's what I'm saying. There are people, I know there's impacted families that get into this fight to fight the evil, to fight the wrongs. But then there's other impacted families that get in this to keep perpetrating that narrative, to keep that lie alive. Why? You're never going to get change. All you're going to do is you're going to have to look at another mother that, if you would have been out here and standing on standing on transparency, standing on accountability, instead of standing on the root of all evil, we would really get change. We wouldn't have to be out saying other names, because after Breonna, it shouldn't even been a Breonna, because, and I know there
would have never been a Breonna if Emmett Till got the justice that he deserved.
Thank you. Talk about it. And I know you probably ran your ass to 7-Eleven and back, because this shit was
bro. You know I did. So I'm out of breath right now because you've been spitting truth, bro. Like, I've been here the whole time and I was mad because for some reason my connection would not let me jump onto the studio while I was mobile. Right. However, it was nice to hear you just go off because you're spitting facts. And it's interesting I will say it's ironic that you put the 10 commandments up, because a lot of the people that like to tout these 10 commandments don't actually practice them.
Right.
However, they were made for a reason. There's truth to it. And if people actually followed it, our country would be a lot better off. We would be able to get a lot more justice, and more people would actually be listening to us and standing beside us and standing with impacted families if they actually listen to these 10 commandments. But also, you touched on so much stuff. But just the fact of like standing alone. And I hear like the song "I Am a Revolutionist" that we have together. The end of the song, you say, "I'm okay standing alone." And it sticks in my head all the time. Like I hear myself playing it over and over in my head because it's so true. Like it may be harder, but you know it's the right thing to do morally, because you know you can get further, and we as a people can get further when one person stands alone and goes against the grain because they know in their gut that it's supposed to be done. Just because everybody, or it's the more palatable and more profitable thing to do to be on one side of things, doesn't mean that makes it right or it makes it okay. And so like we have to be more intentional about our own individual purposes and how we want to contribute to this world or not contribute to this world. If you just want to go to work and go to sleep every day, by all means, do you.
You know,
but don't complain about what's going on in the world and just do that.
That's the one thing that really bugs me, because it's, and I know I'm gonna have a hard time explaining this, but I know Kimberly is gonna definitely feel me on this. Of you can literally show people on paper that there's wrong being done, and then people will sit there and look at you and call you a liar.
And make all kinds of excuses and do everything they can to shut you up, because it makes them think. It fucks up their mind. And when they have to think, that's too much for them. So the easier thing to do is just gaslight the person that brought the light to them, the light bearer.
Right. You know? And that's what people don't understand. You know, it's like literally I've been in and I've experienced where being around, let's say, domestic violence or rape victims inside the movement, and you literally will have people that will protect the abuser instead of protecting the victim. And I still don't understand this, because they make people alienate people instead of just admitting that people are wrong and people want to unite. Like I totally understand how some of these people really feel, because at the end of the day, if nobody's acknowledging your trauma, if nobody's acknowledging your pain, then how do you move forward?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, when it comes to these police departments and it comes to these city governments, it's like, how do we move forward when you guys won't even acknowledge the pain? You just pay it off. Like that makes everything okay.
Ooh, that part. Because capitalism.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what, like, everything that we're, you know, Lisa Lee, aka Lisa, her real name is Lisa Simpson, Richard Risher's mom. She makes a good point of that. A lot of these people, and I'm sure there's other people that have said this, but I take it from her because she says it so loudly and proudly. That if it wasn't about the money, we would be way further than where we are, because of the simple fact of that. If one thing that anybody has never learned, that we all have learned, is that money talks, bullshit walks.
Bullshit walks.
And that people will do anything for money.
Yeah.
We've seen it no matter what kind of walks of life that you come from. Because let's say I'll talk about my experiences, because I literally grew up in that era with, you know, crack, and to see what people would do to get crack, the shit they would steal. I mean, they would kill, rob, and it's the same thing for white people. The same thing they would do for money. If it has to, they'll take out their whole family, business-wise, not by like killing them, but by any means necessary, so that they can be. But people still don't want to see that, and it makes no sense to me. You know. Oh, I know you would, Kimberly. I know you would. I know you don't want to beg.
And I know there's a lot of other impacted families, especially mothers, that feel the same way. It's not
Right.
about the money. They can care. That money is not bringing their kid back. That money is not giving them new memories. It doesn't
No.
take the place of a person. But to these politicians, to Americans that gave up their cultural identity to be a part of this system so that they could just buy things, to them, they don't understand it because they just want the money.
Right. And you know, this is what's crazy is because, so to me, this is how I feel like, let me boost it up a little bit. I feel like we've gotten further along in, it's still kind of small, society is right here is the Supreme Court. And
Hey, bro, are you able
yes,
to like pinch with your screen, pinch with your fingers on the screen?
no, I don't think
Like
so.
from the mouse pad, like, because you got a laptop, right?
Yeah,
You should be able to pinch the screen from the mouse pad with your fingers to zoom in. Yeah,
I am, but it ain't getting no bigger.
that works. Got you.
Oh man, I'm 46, man. I don't be knowing this. I barely know how to use StreamYard. But
Talk about it.
can you see it or no? I'll
Yeah,
go
I
up
can
a
see
little
it.
more.
I can see enough.
Is that better? Because that doesn't.
There we go.
Is that
Now we
better?
can see it. Yes, yes.
All right. So this is a lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court where they made a decision on it, and really is a life-altering decision. I feel they made the wrong decision, but that to me, that's just me. That's my opinion. That's my perspective. I'm a person that loves all and just wants everybody to get along and just be peaceful and united. And that we're nowhere near this with decisions like this. And honestly, there shouldn't have to be no laws written to protect us because people should just be able to get along as one, anyways,
That part.
and just see people for who they really are and just have an understanding and an acknowledgement, because I think that's what a lot of people are even looking for, is to just be seen, to just not have to feel bad or feel guilty of being who they really are. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand it because I think I asked you a question and it wasn't even your answer, it was your facial expressions. Because I think I asked you something about coming out of the closet, but it was like, just to even like, what the fuck does that even like, coming out of the closet? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
right, yeah.
like, what the, you know what I'm saying? So like, I even get it, and like, even I might not like the word. I understand it. I still to this day don't like the word cis, but I understand it. I don't have a problem with other people calling themselves that. Just don't feed it to me because I understand who I am. That doesn't mean that because I don't call myself a cisgendered man that I see you, I hear you, I stand with you. But just because that I don't like for me myself to be called that doesn't mean that I hate you. Doesn't mean that I'm homophobic. Doesn't mean that I'm transphobic. It just means that I already have a hard enough fight trying to be seen as a black man. So
but listen to what you're saying though, because you're taking, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but these are two separate things. And I feel like part of it is you projecting your struggle with being heard as a black man onto other labels that are legitimate things, whether you want to adhere to a label or not. Like, you are what you are. You identify as a man. You know what I mean? So people calling you a man doesn't offend you.
it's
So
all
why
about
does being called cis offend you?
Because
it's the same thing as being called a man.
We've already had
would
this.
you want to be called gay? Would you want to be called gay?
No, but hold on, because we've already had this conversation about why I don't like being called cis. Because back in the day, cis is the same as an abbreviation of the same thing for sissy.
But
we've had this conversation. I understand that. I get it, but just because times have changed.
That's what I'm pointing out, is you're taking something that gives you certain feelings and applying it to something completely different. You feel me? What are
I
two
mean,
different
people
things?
can.
Cisgender, cis is spelled CIS, not
I
S.
understand that, and I totally understand that. But you can't take that doesn't negate anything that I've ever gone through or of an experience.
No, not at
Because
all. And then
there's
also, those
certain
are other people's projections too. I know they're not yours.
right,
You know what I mean? I know it doesn't bother you because I know you ain't no fucking sissy.
right.
But and even with that, because if someone embraces the word sissy, I'm not coming at you either. Because there's nothing wrong with a man embracing their
No,
femininity.
there's
We're
nothing
not.
being
None of us are even talking about that. So no one get it twisted.
right.
We're just specifically because we're specifically just talking about one thing here. Because I get where you're coming from and I hear you.
Right.
I just want you to really understand the intricacies of this because everyone can have different feelings about different words.
But I think what it is though too, and I'll be honest, and I think a lot of people can agree with me on this. I think a lot of it has to do with delivery. I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of people don't have patience to explain something. They just, oh well, you're this and this, and don't want to explain of why it is
why
that
way. Is because we're in a culture where the oppressed should not be educating the oppressor. And queer people are more oppressed than you. You have more privilege being a man and being a straight person and a cisgender person. We should not be educating you. You should be taking the initiative yourself to teach yourself, just like anything else. Just like you should not have to educate a white person on what it means to deal with microaggressions, racism, all of that. Whereas a person that doesn't know and is uneducated about it really should be doing the due diligence to educate themselves. It's not up for us. We choose to educate you. So that's where that frustration comes from and that clapback that you may get, because it's extra frustrating and extra taxing on us when we already deal with the discrimination to have to turn around and educate someone when they can educate themselves. But it can be harder to get that when you're not in that lifestyle. However, you can relate and understand being a black man and knowing what it's like and how frustrating it could be to educate someone about racism when they could just go on Google and learn themselves, you know?
No, and I mean, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
But don't get, and I'm just speaking in general here. This ain't even just about, I'm talking about like the interactions I see on Twitter or Facebook, you know, things like that, because I get it. People feel like they shouldn't have to explained but I will say this: we have a lot of undereducated people out there that words scare them. So, and why not just take a breath, take a breather, you know, go take a toke, go take a swig of some beer, alcohol, and then respond and maybe educate them, instead of honestly, we really make the situation worse than where it really needs to go. Because
I'm gonna point something out that you're saying now. You're pointing out your feelings above whole groups of people and how they collectively feel about how they're being treated. That's not fair.
But it's not, because here's the thing of it is, I can literally go talk to different people and get 10 different opinions or perspectives on the same thing.
That's just like white people saying, "Oh, Candace Owens agrees with what I'm saying, so black people need to shut the fuck up." But that's one black person speaking their opinion. You feel me?
But that's not what I'm saying either, though. And what I'm saying is, and maybe I'm not explaining this right, is tell your perspective of why, to the reasons why you find it disrespectful, or why you find it hateful, or so that I can understand your knowledge and your understanding, so that I don't offend you. Because the same conversation that me and you have, I can sit here and go to the next person and have the same conversation, and you might not be offended, but they might be offended. So for me, it is, everybody has a different understanding to these labels. That's what I'm really getting at. And maybe I'm not saying it in the best terms or the best wording, because it's, people are, even with me, I'll admit it all day, that because of a label that was used primarily back in the 80s and 90s of, you know, calling people feminine and seen as slander to a man, now is
Literally,
you
cisgender is the opposite of that, though.
Right, but I'm just saying of how
when we say cisgender, we're thinking of the manliest straight man that's alpha male, and do you know what I mean? All those people that are super straight and super man. That's what cisgender is, really. That's the image that we get when we think of cisgender. And you're literally pushing that away. It just doesn't make it's literally hypocritical to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird as fuck to me that you wouldn't embrace that term. Hello?
No, I'm here.
Oh.
No, I'm here.
You got hella fucking silent.
No, because of the way that you're saying it, and I'm just trying to get you to understand is because the way that you're saying cis doesn't, the way that you're explaining it isn't. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody has a different explanation to things, and that's part of the problem because you're giving your
that is a
personal.
problem, because literally what I'm telling you is you look up cisgender.
I am right now. That's why I was silent, because cis, short for cisgender, pronounced cis. See what I'm saying? SIS gender.
Because it's telling you how to pronounce it. Because some people will say cis, or they don't know how to pronounce it. So that's telling you how it's pronounced. That's all.
Is a term that means whatever gender you are now is that the same as what was presumed for you at birth. This simply means that when a parent or doctor called you a boy or girl when you were born, they got it right.
Exactly. If you identify as a man, you're a man. It has nothing to do with straight or gay. Has nothing, like you were born with a dick and balls and you identify as a man, you're cisgender. That's all it means. It means that you didn't switch genders, or you don't identify as no gender. You identify as one gender. That's all it means.
Okay, but at the end of the day, we weren't using these terms 10 years ago.
We actually were, but there wasn't as many transgender and queer folk out in the limelight for us to be having these conversations. But cisgender has always been a motherfucking word, bro.
Not saying that it always hasn't been a word. I'm saying that it's not something that we've used.
Because gay people and queer people and transgender people weren't talked about as much, bro. Now that we're talked about, like you don't like, it's just like back in the day, even up until the 90s and 2000s, white people, when they talked about black people, they'd be like, black people. They would whisper it as if it's a crime to say black people, you know? They'd be like, black people. Or
see, I take that differently, because we weren't black people weren't everywhere.
Because it gives me the same kind of feeling as a queer person, but you can't understand that because you're not queer. So it gives me the same feeling as when white people whisper colored or black people because they feel weird about saying it just outright, is the same feeling you're giving me about saying cis. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cringy. Why?
It just confuses me. It should. I don't know why it confuses you.
Because I don't get why someone would shy away from that word, given the climate that we're in. If someone wants to let people know that,
why do I gotta validate somebody else though? I don't understand that, because I literally have to sit here and fight to be validated as a black man every fucking day.
See, that's exactly what I'm saying. So apply what I'm feeling about queer to you and how you're feeling about black, because I'm not trying to push anything on you. I'm just trying to get you to see it from my eyes, and how what you're saying is making me feel just as the exact same way that white people make us feel when they're saying things that they don't understand themselves, but they're being a certain way. Does that make sense? The intersections that I sit at gets me to look at all kinds of things, whereas you're not able to see those things because you're not sitting at the intersection on that. You're at a different intersection.
No, I get where you're going, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this, because this is my problem. They expect the snap of fingers, right? To be okay with something where I never even heard of the word cisgendered until 2 years ago. I didn't even hear wait, just let me explain, because I haven't even heard of pansexual till my daughter was a sophomore in high school. Never even heard what that was. Never even heard the word, right? So for me having to, because I understand it and I'm okay with it. all I'm asking people to do is don't call me it. And I understand it. I'm looking at what cisgendered means, right? But this is a word that is new to me. I'm not afraid of it or anything like that. But this is a word until under 2 years ago, I found to be disrespectful. For over 40 years, I found this word to be disrespectful. So,
but again, let me just say this. You're taking a sounding of a word that gave you certain emotions.
What? But what does it matter if other people took it out of context?
Let me finish. You're taking a word that is pronounced the same way, but has a completely different meaning because you have emotions tied to it, and putting on a word that has no association to the word that gave you that.
It's the same thing with nigga and nigger.
Exactly.
So that's what, and I sit here and I argue with black people all day about that shit, and I just let them be. Whatever your understanding wants to be, so be it. And I'm never gonna hate on somebody for what they consider themselves to be. Just don't project it. I understand it. I'm not hating on it, right? The only time I ever check anybody about the word is when they consider me cisgender. Don't label me. That's all I ask people to do, is not to label me.
My thing is, if you feel that way, you sure bring it up a lot. Like
because because people want to call me cisgendered all the time. That's why.
It's a common thing.
It's not. It's only been common for the last 2 years. How the fuck is it common?
That's you. That's you and what you're projecting.
No, it's the people that I've been around. Wait, no, don't say that, because there's a majority of people that I hang around that are. It's not the
people that you be around, but it's just society in general, bro.
But
there's more transgender people living their lives authentically and fully, that to distinguish between transgender people and cisgender people, it's going to be more and more and more common. Because more transgender people are living their lives authentically.
But this is the crazy thing. This is why we're going to have issues.
If you want to know who's trans and who's cis, and
I don't know. That's the whole crazy thing.
I'm not saying you specifically. But in society, there are going to be a lot of people that want to know if you're trans or you're cis. And some people, me, for example, I have no problem. I'm not going around being like, I'm queer, I'm pan. But at the same time, I do talk about it in everyday language. Right. So someone telling me that I shouldn't say the word pan or say it to them or be like, you don't have a problem with me calling you straight. But why? Like,
first of all, let me ask this, right?
Let me finish. You don't have a problem. You have a problem with me referring to you as cis, but you don't have a problem with me referring to you as straight. But I see it as equal ground.
Nigga, why does either one got to come up? I'm not trying to fuck you. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're gay. Why does it need to come up? Unless I'm trying to fuck, why does it matter?
You and I are in agreement.
That's not the fuck, unless I'm trying to fuck.
Bro, that's not the point that I am bringing up.
I know, but I'm just saying that's what it should matter to anybody. Unless you're
but that's not the point that I'm bringing up. The point that I'm bringing up is we live in a society, whether we like it or not, or agree with it, that's what it is. So we can't be too stuck up and upset because of words. We can't. Because they also do have power and define things. I am proud and embrace the word pan. Do I feel the need to talk about it all the time? Do I feel it's important and significant? No. But I'm also proud of it because society tries to make me feel like shit for it.
Okay.
So someone trying to tell me that I shouldn't embrace that word or talk about it a lot makes me feel like they're projecting their feelings and how they don't want to hear it onto me, which makes me feel some kind of way. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I agree with you, but at the same time, it does make me feel like you're trying to push me in the closet at the same time, just by you saying that you don't like the word cis and being labeled it. Understand where I'm coming from, though. Hear me. I just explained why.
No, I understand that, but why does it have to come up unless it's brought up? Why is that something that should even be talked about unless that's
I just got done explaining. I literally just explained. It's society. Right. I don't like it either. I don't want to have to bring it up. But sometimes I do because it does help to explain where I am in my life. Why is it that you could talk about Ashley however you want willy-nilly, but when I bring something up of who I'm with, it's seen as, ooh, that's weird or that's nasty.
Who? Wait. Who?
I'm not specifically saying you. I'm bringing up an example, bro. Right. Listen to me. Because straight cisgender dudes mostly act like that. Why? Because it's society in the way they treat people and indoctrinate them from the time they're born that it's nasty to think of men on men. It's not. It's the same. It's just as normal as anybody else, but from a different perspective. But because it's different, it's disgusting. Make that make sense.
Well,
that's just the same as how white people look at. Listen, let me finish. It's just the same as how white people have always looked at black people as disgusting. Why? Because that's how they were indoctrinated to think. I can't blame them for looking at me as disgusting just for being born black, because that's how they were taught. It's my duty. It's not my duty, but me existing is my duty to help show them, just by my humanity, that I'm not disgusting by inherently being myself, nor is my orientation. But society throws these things on us and helps us to project our feelings outward to other people. And your actions, that's what I'm gathering from you. And I'm not saying that I disagree with you, because I don't. I understand. You feel me? And it's a difference. But that also is a reflection of my intersections, because you hold
but
more
that's the whole thing
in
of
America.
It is. Like,
in America, you hold more privilege than me.
Just wait.
By being
hold the fuck on, man. Just hold on, because you want to. This is the thing of it is. Everybody wants to just hurry up and go in. We need to break this shit down into sections.
I'm trying,
right? Okay, but you're going way further ahead. We need to slow down, right? Because this is what I'm trying to get you to understand, is that cisgendered, when growing up learning vocabulary, that wasn't something that was learned in school. Right?
Well,
it wasn't something that was learned in biology. You know what I learned in school? That there was male, female, and some chromosomes that they really never got into unless you were an AP or advanced or
just like they told us about slavery and they didn't explain the full story. They don't want white people to feel bad. It's colonizing propaganda. Just like you did not actually learn the truth about gender, that it does not exist, and that there is not just male and female. Just because the science book told you that doesn't make it true.
Oh yeah,
let me finish. Just like they told us the transatlantic slave trade, that we came here in the 1600s and Columbus discovered America. We know that shit ain't true. We know that blacks came here on ships when Mansa Musa sent them on excursions, and black people were mixing with indigenous people in America for hundreds and thousands of years, long before Christopher Columbus came here. But they don't want to talk about that, though. We know that to be true because the evidence shows it, but they don't teach it in the history books. So what, we're supposed to just ignore it? No. And it's the same thing, but people don't want to acknowledge that because it makes them feel uncomfortable. They don't want to acknowledge that the history books were wrong, or what they learned in school was wrong. They want to fall back on that because it makes them feel better about their stance on transgender people and queer people and genders and all of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it comes to the fact that, science says, guess what? If you really look up science and you go talk to a scientist, they will tell you that the line of gender is blurred and there's no such thing as just two genders. They will tell you that. Just because our books in school say it doesn't make it true. But all the people that want to keep going with that narrative will use that narrative even though they know it's wrong. Because if you Google it, they will tell you that there's no such thing as just two genders. It's colonizing mentality that brought that up. Just when they started telling us that there was races like black people and white people and Asian people, that didn't exist before the colonizing era came about. Yeah, there were dark people, there were Negroid people and Mongolians, whatever. They had labels, but it wasn't strict race lines like they made it. It's the same exact thing. And it's literally just meant to willy lynch us and keep us compartmentalized. And that's the issue that I have with labels, is that they're now, because of our society, meant to divide us rather than highlight the differences between us, which makes us special. Because there's nothing wrong with labels in that sense. I embrace having labels because it makes me special. It also helps to define and give an identifier as to who I am in difference to you. And my uniqueness. There's nothing wrong with that. We should be unique. The problem with it is it divides us at the same time because of the way our society is. And I agree with you. But we also should not highlight it in that way.
To
We
be
should
honest,
even
it don't divide me from anybody. It's the people that consider themselves that.
I wasn't talking
lets
about you,
them-
bro.
No, I know, but I'm just saying but I think it goes for a lot of people that are like me. You know what I'm saying? That consider themselves conservatives, but there's certain things that people consider as hateful or whatever. But there's just
What
certain
I
things
see it as is a bunch of people being scared of change. And not
I
knowing how
don't
to, and having cognitive dissonance and being bewildered by change and griping about it.
See, I don't. I don't see it that way because the people that
You're not going to see it that way because you're in it, bro. I'm
no,
telling you,
the crazy thing. Okay, but no, because
looking at it the other
it's
way,
not
you know
no,
what I mean?
because that pisses me off hearing you say that because the people that I'm talking about, we're educating. We're not even trying to shut y'all down. None of that. Not trying to sit there and negate how you're feeling, not trying to make you feel shitty or anything. Sitting there trying
Neither
to
am I.
listen. No, but yeah, in words, yes, you have been a little bit, but
I'm not intending to. I'm telling you
but
my
it's
assessment of what your words are saying and what I'm hearing. I'm literally just retranslating your words and telling you
but
what
you're
I'm
not
hearing.
though. But you're not. You're transcribing it back the way that from your opinion, your perspective, not from my personal life experience.
I'm listening to your personal life experience and telling you the average queer person's interpretation of it and how it might offend me as well, or anyone like me, and our progression of needing equality, equity, and liberty as well. That's just what I'm trying to get you to understand because of how you're trying to understand it. And for the record, I want everybody to know that me and Chaz are brothers. So
Man, listen, motherfuckers can take this shit how they want to take it. If they take it that we mad at each other and we sitting here, they're like, oh, y'all hear Jontel and Chaz arguing?
Right.
We not arguing. You know what I mean? Y'all should really hear us when we're in private having conversations and we're having these type of going back and forth. So shit, this is, I think, one of the better times that we've had a constructive.
Well, I think because we're really trying to work better at. We want people to have opposing views to sit and have constructive conversations and debates and actually be able to make headway in listening to one another. Like sometimes we really do play devil's advocate because me and him know where we stand with each other.
Right.
We understand each other. So we can explore those boundaries and talk from another person's point of view, even if it doesn't directly align with us. You know what I mean? Because people need to hear these conversations, period.
Oh,
because
definitely.
They'll sit in their little rooms and Uncle Ralph will be talking to Uncle Johnny, and they really need to be listening to their transgender niece or nephew in the other room, but they'll sit in the room and talk amongst themselves. You know what I'm saying? When they need to all sit down and have a conversation together.
Because it's not. I was waiting for you to read that. Because it's not scary. You know what I'm saying? Of like, I will say this: I've learned a lot in the last 3 years. And
Same, bro.
I can just speak from my own perspective, and a lot of things I would say I was uncomfortable with because it wasn't stuff that I was around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's things that I wish people could just, be not telling you to be okay with it, but to have at least try to understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not wrong. And I get where in this fight, especially when it comes to the LGBTQ, that certain people get offended or get mad about legislation. It's not so the fact that you're transsexual or any of that, and I'm just talking to the people that I've had conversations with. It has the more to do with the legislation is directed at our kids, and for the simple fact that we're allowing kids to make medical decisions on their own, but yet when it comes to them making criminal decisions, it's they're not adult enough to make that decision. Now, I don't want to really get into that today. I just bringing that up for a point because I'm making a comparison of that. If something's not explained fully, and
I also think that things aren't fully explained, like, to you also, and I think there's still some things that you need to understand in the sense of, like, first of all, I want people to know that you have a child that identifies as transgender, so I think that it is part of your due diligence to, like, understand these things personally, as far as, like, how it would affect someone that you helped create. In a sense of, like, they're not a kid anymore, but if they were a kid today, how it could definitely affect their life in a sense of they might, like, the rates that transgender kids commit suicide and are killed today because of not enough laws being passed in their favor.
but see,
Listen, let me finish. Makes me want to have laws supporting them getting these things done with parental consent, oversight, and looking. But I feel like there's too much attention with doctors looking to check the mentality of the kid, whereas they need to be checking the mentality of the parent, not the kid, because the parent is still ultimately directing that kid, and the parent has the ultimate say, in my opinion. And if the parent is in direct contrast and thinks that is very harmful to the kid, I think that should be something that should be looked at more so than the kid getting hormones. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the kid can always wait a few years. If the more taxing thing that is more harmful to that kid's life is the parents being harmful to that kid. You feel what I'm saying?
oh yeah, no, I see, and I think
I
that's
feel what you're saying. You're concerned as a parent, but I think about what I went through as a kid, simply being queer before I even knew that I was queer. Like, people were picking on me before I
see,
could even understand it. People were picking on me. So the
I'm
fact that, the "Don't Say Gay" bill makes no sense. Stuff like that make no sense, because then you're literally setting up a whole group of kids for suicide, a whole group of kids to be killed off. And people are okay with it because of their personal feelings of how they choose to parent, not looking at a whole group of people and how they're getting persecuted for it. There are whole groups of kids there are the rates of homelessness amongst youth. 60% of youth that are homeless are queer, not just because of their parents shunning them, but because of running away from persecution of their town wanting to kill them, or so on and so forth. There's so many different scenarios of states barring kids, that they're fleeing their families and moving to other states and then going into even worse situations. The stuff that are happening to my people are making me so distraught and so angry at the people that are silent about this shit. It makes me insane that we have to debate about laws instead of actually getting laws passed to help my people. It's like, okay, people are sitting here having debates about affirmative action instead of actually trying to do something about it for our people. It's the same thing. We're sitting here having debates about symbolism and going to Washington, D.C. to have fucking debates about Jalen Walker with millionaires that ain't doing shit, instead of staying boots on the ground in the city and debating and going to city council meetings and holding them accountable. It's the same thing. Tomato, tomato.
no, I
Like, just, I know how you feel about queer people, but there are so many other people out there that want me dead. And you have to acknowledge that every time you think about what you personally want for queer kids, you have to take that into account. I understand your personal stance, but that has
now okay. See,
that want my queer kids dead. And I can't help but always think about how queer kids are dying every day by being killed by laws, by being killed by adults, literally, like not just figuratively, but they're getting shot to death and stabbed to death and choked to death and thrown in boxes and thrown in rivers. Not to mention they're committing suicide because they can't deal with reality, because society is telling them, literally, quite literally telling them that they don't want them, that they don't exist, and there's no place in society for them. And then there's laws on top of it being made that literally make that a reality. So when you take a certain stance based off of your personal opinion, it's like saying to the rest of us that you stand with those people.
But
And
see,
I know that you don't intend it that way.
But see,
But like
I don't
other
have to
people,
be at the end of the day, and I'm gonna be 1%, 110% honest. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. At the end of the day, I
that's
know
not
that
my point.
the shit that I
That's
write.
not my point.
I understand that, and
Think about what
I'm
you contribute to, though.
but I'm gonna make a point of
Inadvertently.
the simple fact of people write legislation out their own perspective, out their own personal, the way that they feel, instead of writing for all. And that's what I'm saying of, I don't care. Nobody should care. There shouldn't be any laws that made to restrict a person of how they feel or who they want to be, because at the end of the day, we're all people.
But what Matt said is true. Like, it's the exact same thing, but worse, Matt, actually, because queer black
I'm
people.
not I can't compare that.
But let me finish, because you don't sit at that intersection, but I can, because I do, and I'm speaking from it because I am at that intersection. You cannot speak on that because you're not queer, you're not identified. I'm telling you because I know from experience, because I am that queer black people go through worse than someone that's just black. You have more privilege being straight and being a man than someone that is a woman and queer. Period. Full stop. And you can't say anything else about that because you don't know what it's like. I do. But I can't even speak for someone that is a woman and is queer because I don't know what it's like. They do. And when they tell me what it's like and that it's worse, I shut up and I listen because I can't understand and relate. Just like neither one of us can tell a woman about her rights and how she gets it worse than us. Understand? And that's what is so hard for other black people to, and it's just frustrating.
I don't even know where to go with that, because what's happening to LGBT. Yeah. That one to me is like that bugs me,
And you know
because
how the people that were getting killed off by the
you're
most
comparing, and that's not what I'm
people.
about, man. And it's like, until this is the crazy part for me, right? And I look at this shit, and this is what I see, right? Is everybody wanting to be fucking validated.
You're again speaking from your experience and your privilege. You're
But
not
no,
listening
that's how I look at this shit, man. Because
but
at the
now
end of
I'm
the day,
feeling downplayed
we're
because
fighting
you
over
just
fucking people fight over pronouns, or if for a kid who can't even get a driver's license.
why
Or
is
can't
it
even
when
go
I'm
to
telling you
to
how
the
I feel
military.
and with my experience and my intersection, you go back to other people. I'm not talking about other people. Listen to me, bro. Listen to me.
About other people.
I'm not. So listen to me for a second. Talk about me. See me for a second, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Nigga, see me. What are you talking about? Because at the end of the day, I literally, right? I understand it. I really fucking do, man. I really do understand it. And I'm not my anger right now isn't even at you, right?
I'm listening.
It's not even at you. What it is, what this frustration is literally that for years upon years, black men and women have been getting slaughtered, have been getting lynched, massacred for the simple fact of our skin color. Not for the way that we want to be seen out here, but just for the simple fact of our skin color. From the day that we were born, where fucking people have hated us. Not even for the simple fact that they seen that we were gay, or that we were queer, or that we were cisgendered.
So if that's the case, we should not be acknowledging black people getting murdered then, because white people get murdered way more statistically than black people. It's the same thing, bro. but you're downplaying me because I'm a section that you can't.
Nobody is. This is the crazy part. Nobody's downplaying. Why does everybody, instead of just listening and hearing people, because nowhere in there that is your personal perception that I'm downplaying anything you have ever gone through. I'm just tired of the comparisons. Why do we always have to compare?
I'm not comparing. I'm literally telling you my experience. Just like you're sitting there telling white people your experience as how black people are facing police brutality. I'm not comparing. I'm giving you the reality. And there's two different. I'm at a different intersection and have a different life experience, but there are millions of other people that have the same life experience as me and can tell you the same thing.
If you're going to talk intersection, can you please explain it so that people understand what you're talking about intersection? Can you explain that?
Okay, you can relate as a white person. You can relate as a black person that goes through racism and faces stigmas and racism, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're discriminated against for being black, right? That's for you. For our society, black people get treated worse than white people, right? Like white people have more privilege in America, right? As a queer person, I have less privilege than being straight. Look at all the states that I can't get a house in. I could be discriminated against and thrown out of just because they will find out that I'm queer. You don't know that discrimination. You could never know that discrimination because you're not queer. That is what an intersection is. I sit at two different points of discrimination. Intersection means that you get, like, I'm queer and I'm black. I get 2 marks against me and get 2 double sense of discrimination just for being naturally who I am, living. You don't know that level of discrimination. That's what an intersection is. So for someone that's trans and black and queer, they get 3 marks against them. Then throw on being a woman and trans and black and queer, that's 4. They literally are the bottom of the bottom. And on top of it, the race that they're getting killed off per their population versus other populations. Yes, they knew to talk about because trans lives matter. Just like you say Black lives matter. Well, and people say all lives matter. Well, the house that's burning down, everyone needs to worry about that house because it's burning down. Just like the trans house is burning down, people are literally saying, burn it down even more. And when we cry out about it and how that's fucked up, people get on us about it. That makes no sense. That's literally what I'm witnessing right now. And it hurts to the fucking core that my people are suffering and people are jumping on them even more and kicking them even more when they're down. It's frustrating as hell being an activist for trans lives, especially black trans women, because they need the most help out of anybody. It's not a comparison. It's not an oppression Olympics. It's reality. They need the most fucking help. I'm tired of fucking bullshit.
You say they need the most help.
Every day, a trans woman is getting slaughtered. No one ever acknowledges it. Ever. And who are they getting slaughtered by? Our own people. Because of bigotry and because of self-hate. That's where we need to be starting. I've been preaching this since I started.
Babies dying every day by our people.
And guess what? I preach about that too, because I understand that. I understand it all, and I preach about it all. I don't discriminate against any or say, oh, well, we don't need to talk about this because this matters. No, I talk about it all because I understand it all. I don't shun any of it away or say that one's better than the other. I talk about it all equally, bro. And I don't dismiss any of it. That's what hurts. I don't say, but this needs to be talked about. I still talk about it. There is no, but what about this? I talk about everybody. Asian lives, Hispanic lives, Palestinian lives, different people, people that are differently abled, neurodivergent people. I'm an advocate and an activist for everybody that is oppressed. Period. Because we all need to be liberated. And because I sit at many different intersections, I can understand someone that sits at a different intersection than me. I may not know their pain, but I'm still going to fight for them. I may not be trans, but I'm still going to fight for my trans people because I acknowledge that statistic and how they are getting slaughtered out there. I'm not going to come harder on them and say, well, there's black people that are getting murdered. Well, they're still black. They're still black. So I'm not looking at the part that they're trans. I am looking at the part that they're trans because it matters in the sense that that's why they're getting murdered way more than the rest of the black people because they're trans. Just like black people are getting murdered a lot of times because they're black. I see this as a no-brainer, but I also sit at certain different intersections. So that's why I see it as a no-brainer. Just like white people don't sit at intersections, so it takes it so much harder for them to understand racism or privilege because they can't relate. I understand that people can't relate, especially if they don't sit at multiple intersections. Maybe because I sit at multiple intersections, I could relate to someone that sits at more intersections than me.
So let me understand this a little bit better, right? When it comes to being trans, queer, is it more about being seen and understanding, or is it having that validation of who you are?
Bro, everything that you feel about your black struggle in white America, just literally slap it on that. Just take out the words queer and put the word black. That's all you gotta fucking do. It's the same exact thing, bro. That's all I need to say.
But see, I want people to understand the black. I could care about validating my blackness. I don't care about marking it on paper. I don't care about anything.
Let me put it this way. There was a black trans woman the other day at the Moms for Liberty thing. She put it best. She's like, we just want to be left the fuck alone and have the same rights as everybody else. That's it. And I feel the same way whether I'm queer or whether I'm black. I feel the same way about both. I don't want to be better than anybody else. Hell, I don't want to be known for being black or queer. I just want to be Jontel. Why do we have to have any of these labels? But in order for me to get treated equally, I need to talk about these labels to get there. Right?
So let me ask this. Let me flip it this way then. What laws are preventing you from being queer?
Like the law that we just talked about in Pennsylvania, a landlord could kick me out just for being queer. So and no excuse needed whatsoever, and it's legal. There's nothing.
But isn't that? But wait, because from my understanding, with the Fair Housing Act of 1964, you can't be kicked out for discrimination. And isn't kicking somebody out for the simple fact that they're gay, isn't that discrimination?
I'm telling you, they could, and there's nothing. I'm telling you because I fucking know. This happened. You can this literally. You sound like a white person saying,
"No, I want to know."
Listen, let me finish.
Well, what's the law so I can look it up?
Can I finish my?
Yeah, can I look up while you're going? Can I know what the law is so I can look it up?
I don't know. You tell me. You know the laws. I'm telling you from experience because I know
Pennsylvania.
Tons of people.
I'll do it this way.
I'm telling you my experience as a queer person that I know myself and many other people who have been literally kicked out of their homes and there's nothing they can do about it.
because
Just like what I'm hearing is a white person saying black people have opportunity. There is no such thing as privilege. Yada yada yada.
That's what you want to
Please
hear.
show
That's
me.
fine and dandy.
Please give me an example as to
because I am right here. Here's the housing
it just kind of
discrimination.
it just
right?
kind of stings right now because like you're questioning my experience is what I'm hearing.
I'm not. This is the thing of it is I'm not.
Don't get mad. I'm just
questioning
telling
shit.
you what I'm hearing.
But that's why I'm trying to sit here and show you, right? Instead of that's why I wanted to ask you. I asked you what law.
I get what that says,
is
but that doesn't
preventing
mean that it's
from
true. That
being-
doesn't mean that that's enforced because it never is. You know that. Come on, bro.
But see, but
We can
I'm
bitch
trying to
about
make
what
a
the law
point,
says.
though.
Right, because we can bitch
I'm
about what the
trying to
law
make a
says
point.
all day, every day, but we know that the law doesn't protect us at all. Whether you're
But
black
why?
or
Because again, I'm trying to make a point of why the law doesn't
mhm.
protect us because we don't know the laws. We don't know how to fight the laws. That's where I'm trying to get to, bro. That I'm not trying to negate. That's why I asked you
I know
what
you're
law on the books is negating our you know what I'm saying, that is hurting you from being queer, or what is, you know what I'm saying? That's what I was trying to break it down to so that we can pinpoint it and then we can attack it.
But
and see how
part
do we
of what
fight
we
that?
need though, we need help. We need people coming together and supporting us so we can form a coalition to get support that we need. We're a smaller statistic than black people in a whole, you know what I'm saying? But we don't get unity to help us like that. Not to mention, we're a community ourselves that have been thrown together. Lesbians and gays don't have the same experiences, bro. Transgender people are straight usually. Most transgender people by statistic are straight. So how can I relate to someone that's transgender? I really can't. We just have shared experiences being the way we're discriminated against.
So that's what I'm saying.
So it's hard for all of us to come together too. Do you know what I'm saying? So and that's, you can look at that between all oppressed people. We're all divided and conquered against for us to continue to be prevented from coming together to even get to the point where we're even collectively looking at the law.
That's what I'm trying to get at, though. If we have, and that's why I asked you about what laws, and this is a law right here, right? Is that,
and that's a federal law, right?
Yes.
Does that say Minnesota though?
It does. Okay, so let me find the federal one.
Pennsylvania is different. And when I was, I had posted something about it, and there was a trans friend of mine who actually they actually challenged me on it.
So here's the federal one.
And started pulling up information, and I was like, "Oh shit, you're right. We're not protecting Pennsylvania."
The Fair Housing Act, the federal one, and now let's talk about it because the reason why you've been discriminated against, oh shit, that ain't big enough, is on here. So I want to say this is the one thing why I say that. How do laws help us when they're already on the books? And I'll put that comment back up. But I want to see this because, well, who is protected, right? So you're protected by your race, your skin color, your national origin, your religion, your sex, which is including gender identity and sexual orientation, familial status, and disability. Now,
you know what's funny? None of those things protect us in America.
Right, and that's what I'm getting.
None of those things protect us. Not even your familial status. Because how many? Look at it. I'm gonna tell you a statistic right now. Only 1% of America really allows multifamily units. So think about how many poor black, brown people can't really get homes in America because they're only built for what they call the nuclear family.
So that's what I'm under.
None of these.
This is the point that I'm trying to make is we keep on trying to change laws instead of fighting for the laws that protect us already. That's all I'm trying to get.
Facts. The only thing that protects you in America is a gap.
Okay. Right. But at the end of the day, when we sit here and we want things to be, added, when we know our rights and we know how to stand up and fight for our rights, that's how we win, because there's no legislation, no new laws. This is I'm mad as hell. It took an hour and a half to get here.
Yeah. No, I think all of the stuff that we put out, I think they will be really good reels and clips to use.
No, there definitely will be.
They're gems that people need to hear too.
Right.
And I'm glad that it took us to get here, because I think if people stuck with this, or if they see this in the future, that they needed that workup.
No, and they did, because at the end of the day, there's nothing that Jontel said that offended me. Some of it maybe cut a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's all love, because what I wanted to understand and then get him to understand, and for y'all to understand, is that there's nothing that we can do beyond education to change the hearts and minds of people, because the laws are already there. It comes with education is how we change people. Laws aren't going to do anything. We have to change people's hearts. We have to change the way people perceive people. And that comes by educating. That's all it is. And that's why I say I'm one of the most patient people out here, is because I might not be able to walk in your shoes, but I damn sure want to be able to understand it, so that I can help make sure that you are seen just like that, how I want to be seen. And that's equal. So that's what I'm saying. And of the people that I'm around, they think just like I think. We want to learn, so that it's about educating, because I know I can't walk in your shoes, because I choose to be I am who I am.
I was gonna say, you didn't choose nothing. You were
right,
born.
but I am who I am, just like Jontel is who he is. And I can't walk in Jontel's shoes, but I damn sure want to understand and acknowledge what he goes through. You know what I'm saying? And that's what there. So I just hope nobody takes anything that happened today on this episode that misconstrues that Jontel and Chaz are mad at each other, or anything like that. No, because we already understand, and I love that we can do this pure rawness of emotion and feeling, and nothing changes, because at the end of the day, we know what the goal line is.
Let me say this. We're two parts to a whole here. So we go for that rawness, because that's who we are. We don't seek to be super professional. This is no super professional show. When we say we're here to spit the gospel and the truth, hold accountability, your truth, checks and balances, my nigga, that's exactly what the fuck this is. And there is no excuse my French. I spoke English, motherfucker. That's exactly what the fuck this is. And when we have things we need to say, we give platform to say it, because we are two Black men who need to express their feelings and need a safe space and platform to express it. So if I want to be angry, if I want to be upset, if I want to be defiant, if I want to cry, if I want to scream, if I want to shout, if I want to be angry, if I want to be angry, any kind of emotion I want to feel, I'm human and I deserve to feel that. And I need a safe space to motherfucking do it. And so do you. So when we ask and demand respectfully for that to be done, there needs to be a space for that to be done. And there's no one that is going to check us on the Leon block, or anybody else for that matter that deserves a space to do that, especially Black men and trans women. Black men don't get enough space and care and time to be able to say how they feel. And a lot of times the first emotion you're going to get from them is anger. But understand, beneath those layers, there's something else there, and you need to understand the language there. And if you can't, you're directly shunning us. You're saying that silence is violence, and you're committing violence against us. And please don't mince my words. You feel me, bro?
Talk about it.
Because Black men don't get hurt enough. And I know we got to get back to the topic, but
I don't, because I definitely, we've been going for an hour and a half, and I really want to cut this episode at an hour and 45 minutes. so it's easier to break it down into sections, because this
Mhm.
is not something that we're just going to leave off, and
Mhm.
this is something that we're going to continue to talk about, um, so that people know how to that we know how to win this fight. And this is honestly, this is building up for the Lisa Simpson and Kimberly Vaughn interview uh, Thursday night. So because I want people to really be at least a little educated going into that interview, because there's going to be a lot of things that are talked about that you're going to need to be educated to understand what these mothers and these families are talking about. Because if you're not, you're just going to follow along with the blindness.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why we're doing this. And I do have something special. So we're going to go for like another 3 minutes. And then I'm the last 5. I've got something special for y'all. So um,
Oh shit.
I'm going to leave it for Jontel to finish off this episode. And I'm going to leave y'all with this. In the last 2.5 minutes, I'm going to leave to Jontel to let off his Jontelisms. So, win or
Bet.
fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well.
Yeah, y'all. So I really appreciate Chaz for this episode and this talk. It means a lot to me to have somebody that uh, is on the same page, and not to say that the rest of our team is not. We all have each other's back here, and we all are on the same page. We know the soul of the Leon Block, and we always seek to share the spirit of the Leon Block with y'all. This is a platform for the people, by the people. And when I say that we respectfully seek to highlight everybody's viewpoint here, we do that respectfully. So you always, 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 always are welcome to hit us up, voice your opinion, contact us if you have something you need to get off your chest, or you feel like we have not highlighted your opinions or your viewpoint enough on something, or there's stories that you think we have not covered and we need to. Hit us up, bring us information, chat with us. We love talking about it, and we love guests on the show as well. As Matt says, arm yourself with knowledge. Yes, it is one of our web shows, TV show like we on TV, that we have. Arm yourself with knowledge seeks to arm you guys with knowledge, and we do talk about a number of different things. It's very similar to our web show Find Your Boots. Find Your Boots is a history show where we go back in time and we talk about things that led us up to where we are today. We get in depth on a lot of minute different topics, but they have a broader aspect to help explain a bigger topic. So Matt, you left a lot of comments here. I just want to talk about really quick. You said it will always be the rich versus the poor, no matter what race you are or sexual orientation. We not fighting each other. We learning from each other. That's what it should be. Um, and that's also something that we strive to do, is get everyone on the same understanding, the same playing field, that we can all share experiences and continue to learn from one another, not just learn from history and what has already been shown, but what we can offer each other today and for the future. Um, so yeah, shout out to Chaz, shout out to the rest of our team here at the Leon Block Independent Media. We really appreciate y'all. Definitely check out our documentary in honor of Juneteenth that we just posted. We know tomorrow is a holiday for America, but don't forget that the country wouldn't be what it is without the contributions that foundational African American supposed slaves contributed to this country. So don't forget what America really is.
And the special I'm going to leave y'all off with today, the surprise, I mean, not special, the surprise is me and Jontel's I Am a Revolutionist Part 2. And I'm going to leave y'all off with this. So I hope everybody has a blessed rest of their day, Motivational Monday. And we'll see y'all until next time. Y'all have a great day.
I am a revolutionist. I am a revolutionist.
I am
a revolutionist.
I am circumstances, I urban conservative.
Cause I talk heavy, I sat in my darkness, pretended in the light, cause I had lost sight. I dimmed my darkness and my light shined on others.
It's supposed to be a liberation.
Until I discovered my own, myself, my inner child needed help, and I came to my own rescue. You come into the world alone and die naked. Cause I talk heavy. I am a revolutionist cause I see the oppressed, dispossessed. I think about the oppressed, seek to uplift others and help them discover one another. I seek to uplift others and help them discover one another. I see myself in others, their history, discipline, missings of intellectual being. I'm not my slave master spirit. The DNA missed my intention. My purpose is to unleash words that will unite the first of the generations meant to birth a new light. I know I am a revolutionist because I understand there is always work to do. I am a revolutionist because I see me through you. I am a revolutionist because I don't dismiss the rotten bigot seeking to abolish high melanated kin. Revolution is brought, not sought. The lines, your soul, third eye, you know. I am a revolutionist because I always will seek to constantly evolve and grow. Cause I talk heavy. I seek to uplift others and help. I seek to uplift others and help. Cause I talk heavy. I seek to uplift others and help. I seek to uplift others and help. Cause I talk heavy.
Cause I talk heavy. Revolutionary. I am
a revolutionist. The urban conservative.
What does it mean to be a revolutionist?
To be a revolutionist, what it means to me is somebody that is by any means necessary. You rise above the fear, you don't back down, and you stand on what you believe and you don't waver those beliefs, regardless of who you're going up against when it comes to your values and beliefs, that you stand on those beliefs. That's what a revolutionary is, and you do anything by any means necessary to get that change, that direction that we're headed. Body cams, police killings. Shit, all you see on, Instagram, TikTok is trauma, is, fights. Basically just being indoctrinated to be desensitized to gruesome shit. And I feel that's where we're at because, I think about it even just in the last year. I remember seeing Khalil Azad's photo, which reminded me of Emmett Till. The only difference is they happen 50 years apart,
right?
But still the same result. No accountability, no really acknowledgement. So again, y'all tell me what has changed because it's the same shit, just a different year.
Right.
Wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Right is right, even if no one is doing it. And that's where it came to a cross in the road, is because you have so many people still following behind that wrong because everyone is doing it and nobody is standing with the right because he's the only person standing.
I talk heavy.
Right. So
I seek to uplift others and help. I seek to uplift others and help.
What does that make us?
I talk heavy.
It makes us sheeps.
I seek to uplift others and help. I seek to uplift others and
The
help.
urban conservative.
I talk heavy. I seek to uplift others and help. I seek to uplift others and help. I talk heavy.
Let's go.
The revolution is in sight. Night is cold and filled with fright. I am a revolutionary revolutionist who rides in line with mine. Not behind, not above. I ride with love, cause love wins. I am a revolutionist cause I go with what the fuck I feel from within. Revolution will be on television, social media, and in your phones, motherfucker. Revolution will be on television, social media, and in your phones, motherfuckers. Get in line.
The urban conservative.
Circumstances.
And the
Every
people
day.
quantity because I'm looking for quality.
Fighting for my life. Every day. Fighting for my life. Fighting for my life. Fighting for my bread. Grew from the seed you thought was rock. I think not. Fire bred desire to rise above denial, to rise from former ashes to face new trial or triumph. I am enough. Trial